Namaste. This little piece of the video is just an introduction. The video itself I made months ago in August 2025. It's on Yantra Yoga. It was a class on Yantra that I was doing with a group. And it's about the major time cycles, the grand yugas, and the modern calculation from the Yantra Yoga system breaks it into what it is here as the year 2568. Now, this is the last part of a grand cycle of 25,772 years, which is a grand cycle connected to the precession of the equinoxes. The ancient systems, the ancient cultures knew about this. Modern science is discovering it, but doesn't have any calendar to go with it. So the sage was divided into 10 parts. The birth of the Buddha marked the beginning of the last age, and that was 2,568 years ago. That's where the time comes from, the date. The end of the cycle is 2577, which is not that far away. And it's the 10th cycle out of the 10 division of the 25,772 years. So that means we're at the end, and what was called in India, in the Hindu tradition, in the Vedas, a time when the earth turns upside down. That refers to a pole shift. And when the pole shifts, we have major earth changes. So you can see that happening if you look around. So let's carry on with the rest of the video. Thank you for listening and pay attention to it. It's crucial to have an awareness of this time. The ending of the old age is also the beginning of a new one, which will be very different set of values, different social structure, not based on greed and business, but more on cooperation and peaceful, loving harmony. So let's look forward to that. Okay, carry on.
Yeah, I thought I would start with that because of what time it is, because I'm not sure if you're geologically aware, but in the time cycles and here in Thailand, in India, the whole Eastern world, they use a different calendar system. You're in the year 2025. Okay, I'm in the year 2568 in Thailand. So they're hundreds of years ahead. And the calendar system is based on these yugas and the ancient knowledge of time cycles and how things work and how the universe is rolling, unfolding. Now, astrologically, in measurements, the yugas go into these phases. I mean, you can go get carried away and look at, oh, okay, it's 432,000 years for the grand Kali Yuga. You don't need to go that far. To be more practical, coming now, the cycle of what's called the precession of the equinox in astronomy, maybe also in astrology. It's a known cycle of 25,772 years. Now, has to do with the position of the Earth and the fact that it's tilted and it wobbles a little bit. And the whole circulation of the wobble takes that amount of time. And this amount of time is a basic unit for these ancient calendars. The Mayan, the Egyptian, the Hindu. So it's significant. And the Buddhists also. So they're all following these grand cycles, which have to do with, again, here we're looking at the dharmic cycle of humanity, not individual, just what's happening to me, but where is humanity at? And in what way are we unfolding, evolving, or what's happening? And one of the main points I want to make is that we are because it's the year 2568. Now, if you take the grand cycle, which is astronomically accurately calculated these days with computers and everything, it's 25,772 years. And in these ancient systems, they divide this into 10. Each period is 2,500, 2,577 technically or astronomically. And the 10th one that we are in now, because we've already gone through 9 of them, we are at the end of the 10th cycle. Okay, the 10th 2,500 year cycle. And it brings us again, the calendar is now 2568, and the end of the cycle is 2577. So this is an ending. It's an ending of something almost unimaginable, but these big cycles, when they come to an end, the 10 of them together, it's a 25,000 year cycle, and the Earth goes through major shifts and changes. We have what we call the pole shift. We have different things happening. We have a lot of revolutionary changes happening, which you can see in the world. Everything is accelerating and got people rebelling and revolutions, etc. But at the geological stage, there's a lot happening under the surface of the Earth. Okay? Now, if you have been watching geological news, I don't mean the wars between, Israel and Iran and the bombs that are being threatened between Trump and Putin, the geology of what's happening on the planet. There are more earthquakes, volcanoes bubbling up and erupting at this time than anywhere in our recorded history. Recorded history is very short compared to the history of these grand cycles, the dharmic cycles of mankind. And if you are paying attention, there are volcanoes. Everyone know what Yellowstone Park is in America? It's a volcano. Okay, it's the biggest on the planet. It's 50 miles across, I think, the head of the volcano. And it's erupting. It's blowing up. And when it blows up, it's going to take half of America with it. It's not just a major little volcano that's going to spew some lava. And then yesterday, they also realized, oh, there's Mount Rainier, which is the next mountain up. And then there's Mount St. Helens, which is up closer than that. I mean, I was in Canada when Mount St. Helens blew up, and that's pretty significant. The whole top of the mountain blew up, and the ashes scattered for 2,000 miles across America. Now, what's coming is 10 times worse or more. They know they cannot calculate how intense this is going to be, but they're measuring it. And with satellite imagery, they can see how much stress and tension there is between the tectonic plates. And you have Yellowstone, Mount Rainier, and Mount St. Helens. And this is all on one line that is going from Alaska all the way down to South America. One line between tectonic plates. And it's shifting dramatically. They're looking at it and they realize it's going to explode in a very big way. And that's going to change the planet, actually. It's going to be rather destructive from the perspective of our old civilization and all the cities and shopping malls and the purpose of life as it's being projected in the humanity. But it's the end of a cycle. This is geologically there, and again, and you go back to India. If you go to Rishikesh, there's one of the temples there. They've got all these ages kind of mapped out into 10 avatars. At the end of every age, there's a enlightened being who comes and puts mankind back into the right direction. But at that time, there's usually a lot of conflict and things happening. So the 10th time is the most intense. Last time was the age of the Buddha. Before that was the age of Krishna. Before that was the age of Rama. And before that, and they have these all mapped out in Rishikesh in one of the temples, going back 25,000 years. So this is part of the Yantra Yoga. It's about time cycles and the phases, the ages we go through. As I'm saying about the Dharma cycles aren't just personal little things. These are the grand cycles of humanity. Civilization is going through these phases. And we are in a civilization that has reached its end point. So we need to realign what we're doing and have a look at the old systems of materialism that have been propagated, and it doesn't really make sense from the Dharma cycles. From the Dharmic side of life, we are here to evolve as a species, to help each other evolve, and to come to a place of enlightenment, better understanding of everything that's happening on the planet. So we need to look at what's been happening and look at, okay, where do we go from here? And the prophecies in all these cultures are also saying we're going into a more advanced evolution. And that's the evolution of our consciousness. And as has been predicted by some of the, okay, let's see you later. We're looking at Aurobindo, for one, who was saying, we're in the scientific age, we're discovering all these things about matter and energy, which is going back to about the chakras. We're discovering that everything is actually made of energy. So this is the whole science of yoga, the chakra system and Kundalini, everything is energy. So learning to play with it, learning to work with the energy directly is our next state of evolution. And as Aurobindo was saying, like 100 years ago now, he started Auroville in Tamil Nadu, South India, kind of a community looking into the future. And he was pointing out that we're going into this age that is more magical, where we awaken to the fact that things are not as solid and real and fixed as we thought they were. We have more influence. We develop magical powers, as he was defining it. And this is, again, getting into the quantum physics, we're looking at actually the chakra energies are magical powers that you can take the energy and realign your own molecular structure. You can reconfigure your body chemistry, your hormones. All of this is contained in yoga. This is a big part of what I learned from Swami Gitananda, actually controlling your hormones by visualizing. You're taking the quantum waves and molding them into the molecular structures that are the most beneficial for you. So this is another aspect of yoga that maybe doesn't touch so much on the whole yantra thing, but the yantra thing is a way of calculating all these things, and the sacred geometry that comes with yantra is the patterns of energy that determine what your hormones are going to be like. At the molecular level, everything is in a symmetrical pattern. Right? When the symmetrical aspect breaks, the molecular structure goes into more of a deformity. Your body chemistry is not as healthy as it could be, etc. So, bearing that in mind, we're at this age. It's a time to really embrace the realities of yoga, the chakras, the energetic world, and develop through our meditation experiences in how we play with this energy, how we see it on the inside, how we are controlling this energy with our thoughts. Our thoughts are vibrations, vibrations actually control the energy. So all of this is another level of yoga, but it's important to realize we're going to be pushed into making this transition as the world that we come from is crumbling, falling apart. And if you haven't seen that, you can look at the rest of the news other than geological news. everything is kind of falling apart. So what we need to do is go back to a yogic way of understanding what time it is, what we should be doing, and what we're here for. And this is the dharmic path. Why we are here, the dharma is we are here as spiritual students learning to tap into this magical world with Aurobindo called the angelic world, where the angels have the power to heal just by thought, by visualizing. So we are developing those powers whether we like it or not. And if we're not conscious of this, then these powers are developing but going through the subconscious, and we end up projecting our worst fears instead of the best possibilities. And we are at this time when this energy of creation, transformation, and empowerment is really motivating and pushing us to do something. If we're not conscious of it, we're being pushed in the wrong direction. So we need to wake up, embrace yoga, and see what time it is, and then go with the flow of an evolutionary awakening for humanity, not just for an individual. Then one of the other things that's mentioned, and well, let's say just even in the Christian scriptures, is that in this age, the second coming of Christ isn't one person; it's 144,000 enlightened beings, which of course is going to change everything on the planet. But just before that happens, we're going to see a kind of a rapid destruction of the old world. So fasten your seatbelts.
Can
Oh,
I quickly ask, what do they know how much longer until Yellowstone blows up?
no, they can't predict it. They're thinking at any time it's blowing. Yellowstone, Mount Rainier, yesterday and the day before, they realized Mount Rainier is another one that's blowing, and that's close. And that one's right next to a city called Seattle. It'll take that city. They know that this is happening. They know it's inevitable. They're bringing in the military to try to evacuate people from areas or to set up, things. But there's nothing that can be done about it.
Reminds me of that
Yellowstone
movie.
blowing up is the equivalent of 1,000 nuclear bombs going off at the same time. So how
Right.
do you do something about that?
Yeah.
But that's
That
part of the it's part of the shifting, the changing, and the earth is resurfacing itself, essentially, as it did back in the time of Atlantis and Lemuria, all of which are beyond our history. And we're taught, oh, it's a bunch of legends and it's mythology. But the reality is there have been a lot of civilizations that have reached this point of what we consider, oh, we're super civilized, super civilized weapons. And then at this time, boom. So any other questions on that subject? So Dharma is, again, humanity going through this phase, going into an evolving phase for some people, and not that many people in the percentage wise, not that many people are going to get in the right boat. Questions? What do you
Yes,
think about
I have a question. It's not actually like a question, but so what comes to my mind is like a lot of people kind of how do you say, ignore or ignore like the, I would say, propaganda of climate change, right?
Yeah.
Would you say that I mean, first of all, it's like a lot of making people like panic, in fear, making them guilty, right? But
Yeah.
is it also that, I mean, I don't know, like the group of people who is like promoting climate change, that they're either like totally ignorant, or like they don't know about the fact that like we go through those different cycles geologically, or that they know and they try to use this blah, use this knowledge to
Yeah, control people.
control people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how much they know, how much they take it seriously. I don't know. It's I'm talking about the scientists and the geologists all know this, and they're trying to let people know. And even that, even the fact that Yellowstone is blowing up, it was big news a few days ago, and then it kind of gets toned down. But then Mount Rainier, which is the next one in the line, okay, now they just discovered that one is also blowing. The Earth is bubbling. So again, the geological changes we go through every 25,000 years, humanity has very little influence on that. This is
That's for sure.
inevitable change, you know?
Yeah.
We can't stop the world from spinning or from doing what it does. We're just little creatures like ants on a nine-tailed elephant comes and stomps on the hill. That's it. So spiritually is a time of evolving, of gaining access. The energies that are coming now are very transformative, and if we are utilizing these energies and absorbing them, which we do with pranayama, which we do with the laya yoga kriyas that you may know about, we're taking energy, and what you're doing here is you're directly plugging into the energy of the universe, of which the Earth is a little ball in the middle of it, but the energy of the universe isn't going to change that much. It's accelerating, it's going into higher frequencies, coming through here at higher frequency at this time, picking up our evolution, our inspiration, and changing people, waking people up. And other people, it's going into the negativity of there's more disease, there's more problems, there's more warfare. It's the same energy, it's just going in different directions. And I've been watching the evolution for 55 years plus, and really, wow, there's a lot more people waking up. There's a lot more people practicing yoga or doing meditation everywhere in the world at this point. So that is the positive side of the awakening. And the major shift that we'll all have to do is simply stepping back into nature. So finding our food falling out of the trees instead of going down the alley in a grocery store. A different reality. Right? We've gotten so far away from that, we can't even conceive, oh, gardening? Picking a carrot out of the ground and eating it? Never done that. Have you? I did a lot of it actually. Grow our own food when I was a kid. It was more in style in those days, but now, how many of the younger generation can turn off their iPhone and actually grow something?